Oh, that was easy. I actually figured it out.
Good job.
I figured out that we can invite. Oh, hey, Kim Walsh. I figured out we can invite in more, up to 3 people now too. So
Beauty.
that's exciting. Give it a couple minutes here, or what?
Maybe.
Hey,
all
Graham.
right, Graham's here. We're good to go now.
Yeah, now we can go.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Maybe later. Ted never gave me the name to this segment, so I'm going to call it the Big Brother Roundup, brought to you by Oh Dear Podcast. So myself, Kevin Walsh, and Dustin Moore are here. We're 2 out of 4 of the hosts of the Oh Dear Podcast here in Red Deer, Alberta. And Dustin Moore happens to be Kyle Moore's brother. Kyle is currently on season 9 of Big Brother Canada, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, Mooresy, how you feeling tonight?
Good, yeah. And, Ted gave me the green light that the episode's coming out tomorrow morning, so that's exciting. And trying out something new tomorrow as well. I think they're doing an afternoon tea time with Lundy and Ted, a little Ask Me Anything, Instagram Live, happy hour, have a beer. So certainly we're doing some things that are a little different right now with the circumstances, and look forward to when we get out of this thing. But right now my focus is strictly on Big Brother.
Yeah. So have you been watching the live feeds here over the last week?
Yeah, hey Andy, I'm a little addicted to the live feeds. I mostly just have time to turn them on at nighttime, kind of when they're settling down and I don't see much gameplay, but just kind of cool to see Kyle interacting with all the house guests. And it looks like, he's kind of made himself, pretty popular within the house so far from what I see from the live feeds. You don't see a whole ton of them so far on the episodes, which is, it's probably a good thing right now, but from a family member, a little disappointing. You want to see him the whole time. But
it's funny whenever, we just finished watching the episode, me and Kim, and I'm almost subconsciously looking for him in the frame, like in the background of other stuff, just to see what he's doing. And yeah, it's interesting. I thought he had a couple good sessions tonight, but we'll get into that. So just for people, hopefully that if you're tuning into a Big Brother podcast, there's going to be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the latest episode, which was tonight on Wednesday, close your ears or just keep listening because we'll talk about some good stuff. Also, I think we're both, I've always been pretty invested as a Big Brother fan, and so I like to follow along on Twitter, watch some live feeds from time to time, but I try and stay up to date because they show a very small fraction of what actually happens in the house. And when you start to find out, some of the conversations and incidents and happenings that go on that never even make it onto the live show, but it ends up being a big part of people's decisions. So we are going to talk a little bit about stuff that maybe hasn't been on the show on Global, but hopefully it'll give you some insight into what's going on, and it might spur you to check it out yourself. So Mooresy, you and Ted did the last update last Thursday. It's been almost a week, a couple episodes. How are you feeling overall about Kyle's game?
Yeah, it's hard to say so far. I think you saw in the episode tonight that there's a 6-person alliance that is formed that Kyle is not in. So that's obviously troubling, to hear when an alliance that big's getting made and you're kind of on the outs. I think the good part with that is that there's a lot of fractures, and it seems like not a whole lot of personal relationships forming in that alliance. So who knows how far that one goes, but he's laid low. He's kept his emotions in check. He seems to have gravitated over to Rohan, and it seems like they got kind of a bromance going right now. He doesn't seem to be ruffling a whole lot of feathers, which I think bodes well right now. It's going to come down to the vote tomorrow it seems like Rohan's is kind of ride or die right now. And if he goes out, then it could be majorly troubling Graham.
He's not wrong. Okay, so we'll get a little more into that, but just how do you feel about Big Brother being moved from Sunday to Monday nights? I know it's a little thing, but I know myself and my wife Kim, we always like to cuddle up on a Sunday night, and it's a good way to kind of end the weekend and get ready for the week.
Yeah, I don't love it. For people who we have the time shift here, so we get global Toronto, so we get the actual episode at I believe 6 today, or 5 maybe even. But the people who don't have the time shift set up on global, they're waiting until 9 o'clock on Monday nights, and I think before that, or at least Big Brother America was 6 o'clock on Sunday. So it's a nice way to settle in and get ready for your week, or it used to be, and a little disappointing there on Monday, but with Kyle involved,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm going to watch it whatever day it's on, and I'm watching every night anyway with the live feed. So,
yeah, I'm watching Oilers games when they play 3 games in 4 nights, so no different. So just a note that I picked up, I don't know if anyone saw the little rap that the house guest had made, but Kyle's little portion was good, and he called himself Stu. And I happened to see something yesterday that kind of filled me in. Otherwise, I would have been, what the hell are these guys talking about? But they've quickly, I think he's brought his nickname K-Moo into the house early on here, and I think all the house guests have picked up on it. But man, they must get so bored that, I think just from a rhyming perspective, now they're calling him Stu instead of K-Moo. So just a heads up for people, if you start hearing that out there, I think they're talking about Kyle, which I thought was a little funny. How's it been running his Twitter account? So for those that don't know, Dustin, I believe you're running Kyle's official BB Can Twitter account, and then your sister Kelsey is running the Instagram account. So how's that going for you guys?
Yeah, it's, when we first found out Kyle was on the show, it was obviously exciting and really happy for him, and can't wait to see him on TV. And then it kind of set in, oh crap, we got to do some media for him. We got to do, I don't know what this is, but that question. Got to do some media for him, got to do some social media for him. And it was kind of like, oh, this is going to be, a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of time. And luckily Ted, is involved in social media. Me and Kelsey can bounce ideas off him. And really, we're just trying to build him a fan base and people who want to actually, engage with them. And hopefully the further he makes it in the season, the more fan engagement, and he can kind of start to build his brand a little bit, as you've seen with past seasons and in Big Brother, that they're able to really build a brand after they're out of the house, and we're just going to try and help them do that. So it's been a little bit of work, but it's also been pretty fun engaging with some of the ex-house guests too.
So it's got to be hard, because I know you have to follow, fans and other people. And so you're seeing a ton of tweets and a ton of spoiler tweets. You're probably also getting some, keyboard warriors saying some mean stuff. Like, how are you dealing with that kind of stuff? Or are you experiencing it?
I would say a little bit pre-show. There was some. I deactivated my personal Twitter account beforehand just because I knew I would. It's never ending. If you want to find something, you can find it. If you want to find something negative about somebody, you can find it. If you want to find something positive about somebody, you can find it. So I just found that I wasn't going to go down that path. And then now with running this Twitter account, I strictly keep it to the actual ones I follow, the spoilers I follow, the live feed things I follow, and I'm just reading those to get updates. I'm not taking a dive into the searches for Kyle's name or anything. I'm sure it's out there that, people who don't like him, there's people who like him, and I'll just leave it at that. That's everyone's own opinion, and I'm just gonna, hopefully he comes out of this in a good light. And so far he's done a really good job in the house, building relationships and keeping everything at bay. So
yeah. Well, let's get into some of these relationships he's building. So one of our questions that we just had from our good pal Hendy, do you see any showmance opportunities for Kyle right now? I know, and I think this answer might be different this week than it was last week. Yeah,
it's funny you ask, because I originally, I pegged him as maybe getting into a showmance with Beth just because the Alberta connection. I always knew Kyle was more of a brunette guy. So I always thought maybe there was a chance with Austin, and it looks like they're becoming a little closer than him and Beth. Him and Beth seem to be kind of opposing each other a little bit, which is whatever. It doesn't matter. It seems that Beth and Ty and Jedson have hit it off pretty good with Latoya there. So I feel like he's got to cozy up with Austin and Braden and that side now and really try and take on the other side of the house. I think that's going to be his best opportunity. But as for Showmance, I think, he's always been a guy that wants to get to know people first and not just jump in. So I think it's going to take a little bit more time.
Okay. And like you mentioned, it seems like he's developed a good relationship with Rohan, who happens to be on the other team. So, I think a lot of people are seeing it as kind of a bro versus bro team fight right now between Kyle and Rohan versus Ty and Jed. So just give us some thoughts on Rohan.
Yeah, he seems like you saw his bio videos and stuff at the start that he wanted to be a villain and he wanted to create chaos and all this stuff. And Kyle gravitated towards him and they become, it looks like, pretty good friends. And he doesn't seem like a guy who's going to create a whole lot of chaos right now, and seems like a pretty down-to-earth, like, business smart mind that seems like he's going to be able to navigate his way around pretty good. In reading some of these spoilers and live, getting up to date on the live feeds, it seems that the house guests are catching on to that and realize that Kyle and Rowan might be a little bit of a dangerous power couple, showmance, bromance, whatever you want to call it. And I just got my fingers crossed that tomorrow at the live eviction that, unfortunately Josh has got to go home.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Like, I think generally the obvious answer is going to be that Josh will get voted out tomorrow. But I got to say at the very start, he definitely struck me as a weird dude. Just his mannerisms and kind of his voice is just kind of different. Anyways, it kind of threw me, and even tonight, he's starting to grow on me. Like, at least I give the guy props, because what's basically happened over the last week is he's kind of isolated himself in the game, and I don't think a lot of house guests are hanging out with him, which is unfortunate. And he still got a lot of fight. Like, I think a lot of people would have just rolled over and died and just gave up and basically said the whole house is against me. And he's still fighting. Some things happened, I think, in the last few days in the house that hopefully they can at least show parts of tomorrow night, but happened after that veto ceremony, where, I think there's some house meetings called, and basically Josh was just trying to blow a lot of people's games up just to try and any chance to flip the vote. It sounds like the house has gone back and forth between flipping. I mean, quite honestly, I want Rohan to stay because he's aligned with Kyle, and I want Kyle to do well. But I mean, from a strictly gameplay perspective, I think the house is really stupid for not taking Rohan out when he's on the block this early in the game. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer, but as we've seen, it's crazy. I know this show is about, watching people and the whole human psychology, but it's very interesting once there's kind of that groupthink mentality going on, what people will do, and they don't follow the norms. So what's your thoughts about tomorrow's eviction? Who's it going to be?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I kind of got my fingers crossed that it's going to be Josh. Graham just chimed in and thinks it's going to be Rowan. And I'm with you. Like, I think it would be smarter to evict Rohan. And saying that, Josh is kind of shown to be a guy or a cat with 9 lives. Like, it seemed like he was going to be gone week 1. It seems like he's going to be gone week 2. So if he continues to stay, that's building himself a pretty good case for, as you move along in the game, to a guy who's showing good gameplay. But, I think it's going to be I think if Josh goes, it'll be a unanimous house decision. I think if Rowan goes, I think Kyle, Braden, Austin, and maybe a couple others will be left in the dark, and it'll really draw some lines. And, I could see Kyle showing some anger if his guy goes out, and I think it'll be a tough road for him moving forward, and without Rohan there. So here's hoping that Rohan stays.
Yeah. Okay. I think this kind of leads into one thing I've definitely noticed. I mean, I've watched Big Brother US and then Canada, but for a lot of years. And there's really there's an old school Big Brother and there's a new school Big Brother. And old school was a lot more ruthless, not necessarily meaner or anything, or the way people act is any more malicious back then, but it just seems like people were willing to take more risks and be a little more ruthless in their gameplay. And it really, I heard Austin say it tonight as the HOH, it's too early to make the big move. When is it ever too early? Like, shouldn't you, like I said, Rohan, like a strong player, is you have them on the block, they can't play in the veto, it's a great move to get them out now. And they don't seem to want to follow that way of thinking. Like, what's your thoughts on, kind of how Big Brother's changed over the years?
I've always been under the same opinion as you is, get the biggest threats out early. And it took me for my own brother to be cast on the show to really take a step back and think, and put myself in that situation. And I think, you get there and you're one of 14 that out of how many applied, I have no idea. And you just want to kind of tiptoe around probably at the start and make sure that you can last as long as you can before you start to make, because if you go out and try and make a big move right off the hop and it misses, and then you're target number one for the next however many weeks, it puts you in a little bit of a bad spot right off the hop where you want to spend as much time as you can in the house, obviously trying to win the game. But I was always the same as you. Make the big move, get the biggest threats out, get everyone out. But I kind of understand a little bit now that I'm a little bit emotionally invested. So interesting. I hope that Rohan stays, and I hope that, I think although I do think if Rohan does go, I think Kyle's going to, depending on if he wins HOH next week, I think he'll come in guns a-blazing and he won't care anymore. It won't be, let's make an easy move this week and let's keep advancing. It'll be, I'm throwing down. You guys took out my guy. Let's go. Okay.
I did see tonight, I was quickly checking Twitter, and basically Kyle's I think he's fired up tonight right now in the house. That Rohan could possibly go home because there's talk of a vote flip, and he's letting it be known that if he wins HOH, he's going after Jed, Ty, and I think Latoya is what he said. So he's fired up. So if you guys listen to our podcast that drops tomorrow, I tell my story of my first memory with Kyle, and it has to do with some anger issues. So take a listen, and then you'll see what I'm talking about him being a little fired up. So. Let's talk about that have not room. What do you think about that?
I'm a kid at heart. If anyone listens to the podcast, we talk about me being Peter Pan, never growing up. So I think as soon as I saw, sorry, golfing babe. As soon as I saw that ball pit, I was like, this is awesome. And Ashley was asking, well, how do people sleep in there? And I think, I'd become pretty claustrophobic if I was sleeping in there, but it would be pretty fun. And I do think that there's some sort of twist in there, whether there's a key at the bottom of that have not room or something inside of a ball. And there's lots of theories running around, but the Big Brother's been known for, little powers or whatever else. So I'm hoping Kyle, he's a pretty big super fan and knows a lot of this stuff. So hopefully he's in there searching around if he's ever in trouble and needs some sort of power to get out of it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned he's a super fan, and I could see how, because I've done it before with past house guests, where you see their intro video and I think you have to make yourself stand out in those videos because they get thousands of submissions. But Kyle's was the typical, I'm a hockey player, jock, I don't think he really came off that cocky in it, but I could see how people would think that. And so I think a lot of people have these, preconceived notions of what type of person he is or how he's going to play. And it's really cool to see. I think people are starting to realize that he's not that cocky, jock typical guy. I think he's just being himself. He's being fun loving. He's having fun. And he's talked a lot, I think, to the other house guests about some of the Big Brother home games that he's played. And I know you're a part of. To me, that should raise a red flag to some of the other house guests. Like, geez, this guy takes a whole weekend and plays Big Brother with his friends and like a legit game. Like maybe we should keep an eye on this guy. And I don't know if anyone's really picked up on that yet.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And, I think just our whole family in general has watched Big Brother the whole time it's been on. But, as we develop these camping weekends where, there are three nights of Big Brother and mini games and battle backs and you name it, like that would be a huge red flag if I met someone in the house like that. It would be, see you later, buddy. So it's cool that he's divulging that information because, lots of fans are digging that and the engagement on social media and stuff, but hopefully he keeps that, tighter to him and the people he's working with.
So switching gears here a little bit, who is your top 3 favorite house guests aside from Kyle?
Ooh. You know what? Victoria maybe wouldn't be in my top 3, but she's one that's really, I didn't think I would like her off the hop. She seemed like super outgoing and might be a little bit annoying. I thought she might get on my nerves throughout the episodes. I thought she's been pretty awesome. My top 3 though, I've liked Tyshawn since the start. Now that him and Kyle are on different sides, who knows? But he's found himself in a good spot with his alliance and now in a little bit of a showmance with Beth, it looks like. So I think he'd be one. Braden, I really like Braden. He seems to be laying low. And if I could name one more, I think Tina out of Newfoundland. She's been, for an older lady, they seem to be targets, and she's not on anyone's radar right now. I think she's done a really good job navigating herself around the house, and I think she is a pretty big super fan too. So good on her for knowing all that stuff going into the house. And yeah, she'd be in my top 3 right now. How about you?
Yeah, I would say Victoria. I had the same thoughts, right? There's the preconceived notions again. I definitely thought the same way as you. She'd kind of be too loud and just too much, and doesn't seem that way at all. And I'm actually just really impressed with her as a person, hearing her story of being a foster child and bouncing around. And I love the fact that her career is now focused on helping those kids that she once was. And she seems very well spoken and just very professional. So I think she's going to go far. Tina, I had as well, for the same reasons. And also, I love just listening to people from Newfoundland talk. It's a unique accent, and I love hearing it. And hopefully, I get to go out there one day. My third, I think there's a lot, but I pick Rohan. Same as we discussed before. Just seems very smart, and I don't know if he was playing it up for the cameras at the start there, where he said he wanted to be a villain, because definitely hasn't been a villain so far. So
no.
Any questions from anyone? I don't know who's Graham's buddy wants out of the house.
Yeah.
And why he needs to pay, but.
And Andy asked if who we want to see Kyle align with, and it's pretty easy seeing from an outsider's perspective, but you see the 6, and I guess maybe in the house you don't see the 6, but at that point you just gotta talk to Tara, Braden, Austin. I know I'm missing a couple others, but the people who Kiefer's in the 6. But people who aren't in the 6 and start to make an alliance against that 6. So I'm sure it's harder than what an outsider's view looks like, but I'd like to see him align with that side of the house and take on the other side of the house.
Yeah, definitely. I had a chuckle tonight when kind of what Kyle's one main scene was Josh talking to him in the bedroom. And again, just kind of a weird dude. So he was just, and I'm sure they edit it specifically, but I mean, it seemed like a very awkward conversation. And I was laughing when Kyle called him delusional and just kind of said, hey, I'm just going to let him talk to me and I'll just, basically nod my head. And, but he's not listening to anything he's saying. So,
yeah, the good thing is with that, spoiler alert, if there's a house meeting showing it all tomorrow, Josh, blows it up a little bit, but he keeps Kyle's name in the good, which I think is a positive sign that Kyle's built a decent relationship with Josh and not spread the information that Josh has given to him. So it was pretty funny seeing the edit on TV today. And, I'm with you. I feel a little bit bad for Josh. Sorry.
So Ted asked, is there any BB player that Kyle reminds you of? One of the past house guests?
It's tough to say because he's, you haven't seen a whole lot of it on TV yet. I think, if he starts to make it into the top 10 and starts to get a little more airtime, I think he's going to be a little more goofy. And I think he's just going to be a guy who, Joe fun, kind of go with the flow. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some past house guests that, like, obviously you can relate him back to Dane or John, the hockey players, but I think he's a little different. I think that's tough to say. Good question, Ted. I don't have an answer. Do you have one?
Yeah, I don't know if I do either, but part of it is because I'm not good with all the house guest names of past seasons. So I was kind of thinking John as well. I think he won maybe the first or second one of Canada. So
Dylan asked a good question, and I think I have an answer for it. He asked if the 6-person alliance is going to crack. And it seems like on the live feeds and the Twitter, the spoilers, that it is going to crack and it's not going to take long. So, I was always a guy who got mad at spoilers and didn't like hearing anything from you about the episodes and stuff like that. But now that I've really have an emotional connection and can see what gets edited and what gets shown and what actually is happening in the house, I'm not sure I'll ever go back to just watching the episodes. There's so much more complexity to the game, and I think that alliance is it depends how they vote. Actually, I think it does depend how this next vote goes to see how trustworthy everyone's going to be. But I hope there's a crack in it.
I think there's some cracks, but they could fix them. But it's just so early in the game that people are still developing their game plan and who they're working with, and it's early for a big alliance like that. So it's going to be interesting to see if it sticks or not, because we've definitely seen that break apart pretty easily in the past. So Mr. Ryan Lund had a good question. Which house guest do you dislike the most?
Oh, good question. On Twitter and this,
there we go. I don't know if you froze. You can start from the start. Who do you dislike?
Yeah, I don't think I dislike anyone yet. Kyle and Latoya seem to be at each other's throats. It seems like, I don't know if each other's names have been thrown under the bus to each other and as possible targets, but it seems like they're after each other. So I guess that's an easy one to maybe want out from my side, since it's a trouble for Kyle. I think she's done a fantastic job playing the game, though. I think she's in it for, like, she's playing. So I think she's done a good job. I don't know if it'd be hate. as much as I think it'd be good for Kyle's game if she was gone. Any other house guests? Tara, same thing, a little bit of an older lady. Seems like she's having a little bit of trouble trying to find out what's going on with the house, and I just want her to, switch over to Kyle's team, and it seems like she wants to get in on the other team. So I don't know if you can hate someone this early on in the season and before you really understand what type of people they are and what their game strategy is. So I don't know if I have an answer.
No, I agree. I think usually early in the season, though, I usually have one or two that I'm just like, I can't stand those people. So I think that's kind of kudos to the Big Brother casters, because I think they did a great job this year, not only with the diversity of the cast, which was much needed, but also with the people themselves, like no matter what else is going on with them. I think it's a really good cast. So my one comment about LaToya, I think she's intimidating and very confident. And obviously that comes from her line of work. I mean, she's a police officer. Usually they'll show, and I got the sense that I don't know if she told all the house guests what her true occupation is. And so I'm not sure if they know that she's a cop, but I've seen a few clips of conversations where a lot of the people are like, when she's in the room talking, she has all my attention. Like she's demanding, she commands the room. So it's very interesting. She's a very strong person, both mentally and physically. So I think she can go really far in this game. I saw last night she was working out in the backyard, and people are just like, she could beat us up for sure.
Yeah, I think that's that's a good personality to be in alliance with, is LaToya. Somehow Kyle's found himself on the opposite side of that, because it is a person that commands respect and everyone is willing to listen to her opinion. So she seems to be commanding the game a little bit right now, which is a little bit unfortunate for Kyle. But hopefully, as the weeks go on, people are going to get on each other's nerves. People are, I can only imagine 24/7 with our friends. I'm sure I'd kill Ted. So there's no way we could ever be in an alliance together, even if we were ride or die. So hopefully Ted's still listening.
So your beautiful wife, Ashley, just asked a question. If Rohan gets voted out tomorrow, what should Kyle do?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously he has to win HOH. I think it'll be interesting though, because if the house guests like him and if they want to work with him, they're getting his ride or die out maybe so that they can bring him into something, is what I'm kind of thinking, hoping, I guess, maybe. But there's another way to go, and it's win HOH and just start burning fires. And I think, Kyle's a competitor and an emotional guy, and I think it kind of depends on how people approach Kyle after. I think if they approach him and start saying, sorry, we didn't mean to, blah, 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 I think he won't fall for it and he'll come out guns a-blazing. Whereas I think if people come up to him after he understands the game and he understands what's going on, and you come up to him and hey, Kyle, we had to vote him out because you were so close with him, but we want to bring you into this, which is a much bigger thing and can take us further in the game. I think he'll be into that and he'll be okay with that. I think it's the earlier part where people are going to lie and deceit and all that stuff that he's going to get fired up and start really burning some bridges.
Well, if nothing else, it makes for good TV.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Well, I think huge shout out to our friends at Door Tender. They got me drinking some Pink Whitney tonight. I don't know if you have a drink in front of you or not, but they keep us stocked. Our fridge is stocked, and they have hard liquor too. And huge shout out to Unapparelled Apparel for getting us decked out too. Got some cool things coming up with them. And then other than that, just episode 7 I think is coming out tomorrow morning, and another Instagram live, Ask Me Anything with Ted and London. Should be a good one. Tea time.
Ask Lund about Big Brother. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll ask, if you want to know anything about Ted and London, their relationship dynamic tomorrow at 4:30, I think, have a drink with the boys and look forward to all the fun stuff we can do here in the summer.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you everyone. If you made it this far, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully this helped you pass the time. Maybe you're laying in bed trying to fall asleep. So you get Dustin's beautiful right eye to look at. So that's great.
It's my left eye.
Oh.
I got punched in the head a few too many times. Now it droops.
Yeah, by Ashley. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.